brothers. That was a strange break there, sorry. And their world-famous acrobatics show, accompanied by a chorus of trained monkeys, does not exist. Instead, banked currency fraction.
What?
Part 2. Please welcome Will Rosecrans to the stage.
I love disappointing you all. And I need 2 audience volunteers. The first 2 people to make it up to the stage get to stand here and not do anything. Perfect. Lynn, you were third.
Yeah, we do.
I have different props. I did grade the car with random props that I had. I have the severed head of a robotic Santa Claus and a robotic parrot. These things have nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about. They just add visual interest. So those of you who were here last month and remember what I was talking about, and because you were all drunk, I'm sure you remember it very distinctly, I got into a little bit about the difference between currency, money, and where wealth comes from and where money comes from. Now, I want you to imagine that you are living in 1929. For some reason, you're a time traveler who is retarded who picks 1929 to live in. I don't know why. And you're this master of time and space, but you decide to get a job in 1929 because you figured that's going to have long-term opportunities. Now, when you get paid, you would normally not get paid with a paycheck like we do now. Back then, it was usually cash. You would walk around with some cash in your pocket, and then you would buy things with cash, and then it would sit in the cash register for a little while, and then whoever you bought stuff from, they would, pay their employees in cash, and a lot of the economy was walking around in people's pockets back in 1929. But there was a lot of money in banks. Being upstaged by an imitation parrot. That's the kind of stage control I've got. Now there was enough money in the banks that they were lending it out like fucking crazy in 1929. Everybody was buying all this stock on margin. They were getting loans to buy stock. It was pushing up the value of the stock market, the Dow Jones, and there was all this invented money because there was enough in banks that they could loan it out and they could use, it's called the multiplier effect, to invent all this money that didn't really have any association with real wealth. Now, fast forward. You faster forward about 100 years. And now, like, I get paid with a paycheck. A lot of you get paid with imaginary paychecks. Not only do you not get actual, like, gold, you don't even get paper money. You don't even get a paper check. You just get told you have money when you have electronic deposit. And then you go to King Soopers and you've got your debit card and you swipe it and you get your bread and your milk and whatever you've got and maybe Tostitos if you're into those, whatever. But at no point are you actually walking around with currency, actual money in your pocket. Because almost all the money in our economy now is in the banks. That's one of the biggest differences that, in my mind, is not talked about very much. And I love talking about this shit because I'm a boring asshole. So, say in 1929, for a round number, I've had difficulty trying to find an exact number for what this is because Treasury Department only releases statistical figures back to the 50s. But say about 50% of the money was walking around in people's pockets. About 50% of it was in banks. Now, almost 100% of it is in banks. And in 1929, there was enough money in banks that they were lending it out and they were inventing all this fake money and it just fucking exploded and fell down and wound up with this 10-year-long depression. Now we have even more of our money in banks waiting to be loaned out and multiplied out as lending to create fake wealth, which causes me personally some trepidation. Now, if you're really looking for perspective on life, remember swine flu has been found in the United States and other countries around the world. The World Health Organization says we're at stage 4, which is only being cautious about the possibility of a pandemic. It's not a real pandemic until stage 5. And, of course, the Taliban have taken territory within 60 miles of Pakistan's capital, and Pakistan does have nukes. Not Iraq, hey, maybe they have nukes. No, Pakistan has nukes that they've tested and we know work because they went boom. So, you know, this whole Great Depression shtick plus the end of the world thing. You know, I read a book a couple years back about the whole Mayan prophecy, end of the world in 2012 thing. Well, apparently those Mayans were 3 fucking years off, and I am going to try and get my money back on that book. Because I may not have long to get my money back. Now, thank you all for listening very much. Thank you to my kind assistants who had no idea what they would be showing you.
Will Rosecrans! Bringing you the lectures you never asked for. But somehow you don't begrudge him for them. You really do learn something. Despite the parrot.